As promised, time to talk politics. We're taking a look at the upcoming April 26th primary here in the state of Pennsylvania. And of course, all eyes on the presidential election. We're going to look at the Republican ticket now with former Congresswoman and attorney, my good friend Melissa Hart. Donald Trump, that's the go-to guy right now for the Republican Party, whether those in the grand old party like it or not. So why is he moving the needle?
Oh my, there's a lot of reasons why. I think it's frustration. Americans are not happy with the way things are going, whether it's national security, whether it's the economy, whether it's the cost of their children's education, all those things.
Right.
And they're just very frustrated. So I think what they're looking for is someone who's sort of the unpolitician. He's certainly not, smooth. He's certainly not somebody who's served in public life before. So I think people see him as a guy who, because he's made a lot of money and he's been successful, as a competent person who might be able to change things.
All right, but here's the deal. Now, I am on the Trump bandwagon, but you're here to make legitimate sense of why, if you're a traditionalist and you understand the way government runs, Trump's not really the guy. So I'll give you a chance in a moment, but let me just explain where we are right now. I thought the door would be slammed shut after he had I believe, a rather super Tuesday, okay? But after talking to you this afternoon, I understand that it's far from a super Tuesday and the door is still open.
Right.
He's got like 315 delegates, but Rubio did finally get something. It was the Minnesota caucus, and he seems to be the heir apparent to the throne, okay? But Ted Cruz, out of Texas, the senator, got his state and two others, and he's got a little over 200 delegates. Unless it's winner take all and Trump gets all, this is still far from over as we head to the convention this summer in Cleveland. Up next, you've got the Big Five on Saturday, and then, of course, Florida looming on March 15th. So,
And Ohio.
And Ohio, absolutely. John Kasich still in the mix, although I think his campaign pretty much has died out. I look for him maybe to be a VP candidate, but make some sense of these numbers for me.
First of all, I think you're jumping the gun.
Okay.
Maybe because I have a soft spot for John Kasich, but maybe because there is a long way to go.
Okay.
The longer more of these candidates stay in, the harder it is going to be for one of them to get enough delegates to be able to be the winner. They have to have. It's not a plurality. They have to get a majority.
Right.
So sometimes when we have these big congressional primaries, I remember when Mike Doyle won his congressional seat, there were like 5 guys in the primary. All he had to get was like 27% of the vote, and he was the nominee. That's not the way this works.
Okay.
So there's a lot that has to happen. Now, granted, the primaries we just saw on Super Tuesday were all proportionally awarded delegates, meaning that if 52% went to Trump and 48% went to Cruz, Trump might have won the state, but Cruz won almost as many delegates as he did.
It wasn't winner take all.
None of them were. And so the next round, especially on the 15th, we have some winner-take-all states. That's going to mean all the delegates go. Even if you only win the state by 2 votes, you get the delegates. So that's going to be your, if your guy can hang on. I haven't actually chosen a candidate, but you asked something else, and I want to get into that, and that is, why is that more upsetting, the Donald Trump candidacy, than maybe a Rubio or a Kasich, and even a Cruz candidacy, even though Cruz has been very much the anti-establishment guy.
But he's a traditional conservative, and he is under the banner of the Republican Party.
Yes.
And when you look at Donald Trump, the only banner he's under is Trump Enterprise.
It certainly is the Trump banner,
Right.
or the Donald.
He's good at it, though.
Well, he's interesting.
Yes.
And he is compelling because he is a person who has been a leader and who has been a negotiator for so many years. And I think those qualities are very important, there's no doubt. So anyway, I think the party itself fears. I think the party structure people, not the candidates themselves, but I'm talking about Reince Priebus, the guy who's the chair, and some others.
Why are you the first person that understands politics better than anybody I know in this room tonight? And we have got some pretty amazing people that I met out in the lounge earlier who knows politics, and a gentleman that we're going to talk to very shortly. But why is everybody just afraid to say that the Republican Party is afraid of Donald Trump?
Well, I'm not an elected official anymore.
Okay.
But I've been at the highest level where I was a United States Congressman, but I also was a co-chair of a Republican Party convention. So all those inner workings are very familiar to me. The party wants to be strong as a unit, okay? And if a guy comes in who's not part of that unit, he's not going to like that unit anymore. It used to be that the titular head of the party is the person who's your governor candidate or your presidential candidate. So if that happens, then all those people are going to lose power. And politics is about power. And that's why I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable. And the other issue, of course, is that Donald Trump isn't exactly an ideological guy.
Let me ask you this, and obviously you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So is this more about not the fear of him running the country, but working with government in Washington?
No, I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. In fact, as a person who has been a partisan, as a Republican member,
Mm-hmm.
but also as a person who really was interested in being an elected person because of public policy, I think actually Donald Trump is less of a question mark when it comes to the public policy side. Because he doesn't have a strong ideology, then the people who are in the Congress are going to have more power, I think, to persuade him on ideology. But the party regulars and the people who have power within the party, the kingmakers, so to speak, are going to be much more threatened by him.
One of the things that I have heard, and I've talked about this with a lot of people, that the Republicans, if Trump would somehow get this nomination,
Mm-hmm.
and I say the traditional Republicans, those who really make things happen, that they would take their money and support a third-party candidate.
It's possible.
Not under the Republican flag, they would still support that candidate.
It's funny, for people who studied history, they know that we used to have different political parties.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, but before him, there weren't many, if any, who succeeded to the presidency. So what we have here may be the end of political parties as we know them. I don't know. But the Democratic Party is not doing particularly well either.
But we've seen people like Ross Perot try to do that. It didn't
Yeah,
work.
right.
And if I'm the Republicans and you get to a point where are we going to take over the White House again or not, by backing that third party, it could split the ticket and put the Democratic nominee, who I think will be Hillary Clinton.
I think that's a real concern. I would agree with you there. We did have that happen when Bill Clinton ended up winning. I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity now. Obviously, there's a lot of people who are seeking power now in the presidential race. So there may be people who can kind of grow a group that might be able to pull enough support from maybe the Democrats who aren't really happy with the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that seems to be taking over.
Are you happy with your party?
Well, I think my party's splintered, so I...
Doesn't that frighten you, though? Upset you, maybe, even a better word?
Yeah, I'm concerned. Because,
It's sad.
Because I like Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, is a very close friend of mine.
Excellent.
He's a
young man.
fine guy. He's brilliant.
But you realize,
he's a good guy.
but what he's
a
done
family
now,
guy. He believes in what he says.
but what he did,
doesn't lie.
he pretty much took himself out of any future run for the White House by doing this. You think he either got fed up with it, or he just, I'm going to get while the getting's good, because he saw all this stuff coming, Tea Party and all the other stuff.
by doing the speakership.
Yeah, that's a hard situation to walk away from.
He did a very close friend and colleague a favor.
And
That was John Boehner. When John Boehner knew that there was no way that he was going to be able to continue as Speaker of the House, just simply because the public had turned on him.
That's a noble thing to do.
And it was noble of John to leave.
Yeah.
I gotta say, another really fine guy who was
Absolutely.
completely mischaracterized in the public sphere. Paul Ryan, fortunately, has not been mischaracterized in the public sphere, and I think Paul Ryan has a little bit more of a conservative ideological bent to him, where he's acceptable to a lot of the people who, Ted Cruz wing of the party. But the people who I think would be the more moderate people, they know that Paul Ryan's willing to work with people. Paul Ryan's willing to solve problems.
I can't thank you enough, because I know you're busy. You're an
That's great.
exceptional attorney. You've always been there for me.
Thanks.
But before you go here at the Club at Shadow Lakes, and hopefully we'll have a chance to do it again, how do you see this thing really unfold? I mean, and I'm not asking you to pick or choose, but what should we look for, those of us that are trying to figure out what's really happening with the face of American politics?
Well, I think in the short term, for both the Democrats and the Republicans, you see unsettledness. Bernie Sanders. I mean, really? I know you.
I'm going to talk to
Democrats.
Frank Vesio about that. I know.
He's a nice guy.
But he's not presidential material.
No, he's not. He's an interesting college professor guy.
Yeah.
And I served.
And I'd love my kids to learn from him.
He'd be interesting to hear, but I definitely wouldn't want him to be their only professor. But you have that, and you wouldn't have had that last time around.
I don't even think he gets out of the gate 4 years ago. I think Trump has literally rewritten the rules to where just about anybody, you know the old saying when you were a kid, you can be anything you want, even the president. And as you got older, you realized, but now I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's not the case.
I think that they're a little bit of a different issue, though, on the Democrat side, because Hillary has moved more to the left because of the president, and because, she's out there saying she wants to continue what he's been doing, and I think a lot of traditional Democrats here, where we live, right, they really don't like Barack Obama that much because he's pushed the party to the left.
Well,
There used to be a lot of
I've come to the
Republicans and
defense of the
Democrats.
president many times because you know what? We're all pretty good right now. We weathered many storms since he took over, especially with unemployment. And I'm not so quick to judge anyone who's in that position, whether they be a Republican or Democrat, because it's a tough job.
Well, it's never all the president's fault,
But
certainly.
wouldn't you agree, and I gotta let you go, if this cracker plant gets built, this multi-billion-dollar facility that they've already put close to $500 million in,
Yeah.
you were all about business in the middle class more than any other politician I've ever met, and that's the truth. You have to admit that will be, as everyone's saying, a game changer for this region.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it.
It has nothing to do with party affiliation.
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's not a partisan thing at all. It's usually not. I mean, most issues that every elected official is working on have nothing to do with RSDs or independents or progressives or conservatives. It's nothing.
Okay.
It's all about
And I knew
growing the economy, and I really don't know liberals who don't want the economy to grow.
And I knew you weren't going to explain how this thing would unfold because that means you'd have to tell everybody who you're voting for. So I respect that. But you will. The party will figure it out, right?
I hope that the party will figure it out. The convention could be a lot more fun this year than it usually is.
I know. I like 2 tickets in the front row. Ladies and gentlemen, former Congresswoman, the incredible talent of attorney Melissa Hart. We're at the club at Shadow Lakes. We'll continue talking politics with the man who's doing some big things for Center Township. He's Frank Vesio. He joins us in just a couple of moments. Stay with us.